Welcome ladies and gentlemen to the Authors Meet 2019. Among us we have the renowned author, Linda Supark, and I would kindly request her to come on stage. Linda Supark has written A Long Walk to Water and we would request us to tell about her novel. Let's give our precious guest a grand welcome.
Thank you. Dear friends, thanks a lot for your warm-hearted welcome. I am feeling excited to be here. I will share a brief summary of my novel, A Long Walk to Water, and request you to read the novel. There was a boy in southern Sudan. His name was Salva. He was born in a village Launarik to the Dinka tribe. At that time there was a war going on. The government was imposing Islam on all people of Sudan, and the tribes, Nur and Dinka, wanted to practice their own religion. So, the tribes from south fought the government which was located in the north. Salva had just turned 10, so his family decided to send him off to school like his older brothers Eric and Ring had started going to school last year. However, his sisters Erkut and Agnaf didn't go to school. His father was the judge of the village, a respected and honorable position. In school Salva learned Arabic, though he spoke Dinka at home. The reason for this was because Arabic was the official language of Sudan. He remembered the days when he with his brothers looked after the cattle. Once a while they tried to shoot small animals and birds with their bows and arrows, and if they killed one, they would roast the prey. Soon there was gunshots and the teacher forced the students to crawl into the bushes, otherwise the rebels would find them and make them fight. Then Salva found himself walking between large crowds of men, women and children, running away from home. He wondered, where are we going? Where is my family? Will I ever see them again? Then everyone stopped and the people were divided into groups according to their villages. In the group of his village he found that none of his family members were there. Late that day they arrived at a rebel camp and were forced to divide themselves between men and women and children. He was forced to go into the woman and children group. Though he had been an important man at the village, he was named after his grandfather. The next morning the villagers were forced to carry military supplies. That night they slept in a barn, and when Salva woke up he found that he was left alone by the group. He found a kind old lady sitting on a stool outside, who later allowed him to stay with her. He worked hard so she wouldn't send him away. Then unfortunately she needed to go to another village and feared that Salva would be in danger if he stayed with her. Luckily a Dinka crowd was passing by and Salva hoped that his family would be also there, but it wasn't. So, the old woman asked them to take Salva with them. With moans and groans they were ready to take him. They walked in the dark and slept at midday. After a week they were joined by another group. Normally he kept up with the Dinka, but now he was walking with a Jorkal named Buksa. He took Salva and the group to the beehive and they all licked honey. In the morning all of them were swollen in these stings. It was worth it. Every day there were newcomers and the group got bigger. Then suddenly Salva stepped on someone's hand, but the boy was not from Salva's village because he spoke with a different accent. And they both had lost their families, and soon after they became friends. To his astonishment Salva discovered that they walking to Ethiopia from Ariel, his new friend. It had been a month since he ran away from school and now they were in the savannah, which meant lions. Also, many times Salva would wake up at night by the disturbing roars. Then Salva was accompanied by Uncle Juir. He found out that his uncle, who had been in the army, had joined the group 3 days ago, but since there are too many people they had a difficulty finding each other. Uncle was very solemn about Salva's family. To cheer Salva up, Uncle assured that he is going to be fine with him. He also promised to shoot any mule if it came. Then as the group got tired the leaders decided to rest. But when Salva woke up he discovered that Mariel died and that he was safe because Uncle had a gun. Then they came to the Nile and they needed to cross the river Nile's widest crossing, which looked like a lake, so they started building rafts, which took a long time. When they were ready the group sailed across. When they crossed the river Nile, they had to stop in the island in between. On the island everyone had to bet food since they had nothing to trade for. But by Uncle, he got food without being asked. Probably they were afraid by his gun. The fishermen went to their tents. Soon after mosquitoes rose, which prevented everyone from sleeping. In the morning everyone was covered in mosquito bites. As the boats pulled on the other side, they entered a Kobo desert. It was very rough. They were running out of water. People were collapsing and Salva had to walk barefoot because his shoes were broken. Then he stuck his leg into a rock and the whole toenail came out. Uncle explained that the village was attacked and that if someone has survived no one knows where they can be. Uncle also said that he will not be staying with Salva in Ethiopia. He has to get back and fight for the rebels. The party was stopped by some Nuer tribes who made everyone sit down with their hands on their head, and they took Uncle and tied him to a tree. Then they looted everyone. In the end they killed Uncle by his gun. After that the party mourned in respect for a great leader and buried his body 2 ft deep. Now nobody shared food or a company with Salva, but somehow, he made it to the refugee. At the refugee camp the orphans were separated from other people. At the camp Salva was determined to find his family, and if he suspected he would trace them down, but he never found anyone. 6 years later in Sudan the Ethiopian government collapsed, and one day as Salva was walking, hundreds of soldiers came and ordered to leave Ethiopia. They started firing to chase people out of the camp. They had surrounded the group and now they were driving them into Gilo River and onto Sudanese territory. In the rainy season Gilo was known for its merciless currents and crocodiles. Hundreds of people were lining up on the riverbank and soldiers with their rifles butts and the shooting in the air. Whoever were afraid of the guns leapt into the river. The powerful current carried them downstream. Salva watched a young man float down with a little progress, but a crocodile followed him. Now people floating in the river were being shot by the soldier. He jumped. Then the boy saved Salva's life by being between the bullet and him and pushing him down into the water. Then he came ashore and collapsed. Later he would know that more than 1,000 people killed by crocodiles, bullets or drowned. He was very lucky, and then he started walking south to Kenya. Many of other boys started following him. Since they were near a war zone, he organized the group and gave each of them jobs, to collect firewood, to scavenge food, to guard while sleeping. After 1.5 years 1,200 boys arrived in Kenya safely. 5 years later Salva moved to another camp southeast of Kenya because Camp Kakuma was a dreadful place. There was barbed wire in the middle of a dry windy desert. But after a few years Salva could only understand a little English. There was an Irish medical volunteer named Michael started teaching English to Salva because Salva was curious about English. He was astonished how quickly Salva was learning. Salva wanted to learn English before Michael left. Often Michael would teach Salva how to play volleyball. A rumor spread around that 3,000 boys from the camp would be going to USA. After a long wait on a windy afternoon Michael came running to Salva that his name was chosen. And on the list, it was written Salvador, Rochester, NY. The news of the lost boys spread quickly to America. Michael told Salva that there would be 8 boys and a lady accompanying him. The lady didn't speak Arabic, so it took time for the boys to understand her. They drove to Nairobi International Airport where they boarded a plane to Frankfurt International Airport and then to John F. Kennedy International Airport. At the lobby of airport the adopted family which would have him was waiting for him, Luis and Chris with their 4 children. Luis spoke so fast that Salva questioned that if she was speaking English. He was shocked that his hands didn't move properly and that his upper portion looked too big for his lower portion. However, nobody laughed because all were wearing the same thing. His English improved and he joined the volleyball team. After 6 years he started going to college to do his MBA so someday he would go back to Sudan and help those in need. Then Salva received an email from a cousin working in a relief agency in Zimbabwe that his father had undergone a stomach surgery in a clinic. Salva went back and discovered that the dirty water kills the guinea worms. He also discovered that his mother, 2 sisters and Ringa were alive. Eric were killed in a battle they were forced to fight. So when he came back to USA he opened a non-profit to help his people prevent the disease his father had and save his father from his illness. His company Water for South Sudan has dug 217 wells and is serving 500,000 people. Thanks for your patience listening. I will request you to read the novel and I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.